Hi, so this video is going to be a little bit different. I'm had some issues with audio and some video coming in. We're making a laminate countertop, and what I'd like to say is that I'm a fine woodworker, but I also do stuff like laminate and whatnot because it helps pay the bills. So here we go, and let's see how this works out.
So anyhow, this is the material we're going to use. These are called countertop flake in the industry. It's just particle board. They sell them. These are 30 inches wide. They're 10 feet long. You can get them 8 feet. You can get them 12 feet. Whatever you're doing for different jobs. This countertop, this was the best yield of material for me was to do it with a 10-footer. That's why I ordered these. The reason I don't order full 4x8 sheets or 5x8 sheets or 5x10 sheets, and you can get all those, is because they're just heavy. And working on my own, I would rather not have to lift those heavy pieces if I don't have to. So we will get to cutting this up and I'll show you how I do it. All right, so now we've got our pieces cut up. Some of my cut off camera and whatnot. So now we got to do the buildup. So it starts with a piece of 3/4 inch. Generally, your countertops are 1.5 inches thick. But we have to do a buildup on these to make them thick enough to give it the thickness it needs, and it gives it a little bit of strength. So generally, what I do is I'm going to take, and this is the first. We put a piece on the front edge. We'll glue it and staple it down. Now, normally on most countertop applications, this will sit back, and if it hits the wall, I'll leave it back here and here so it's easier to scribe to the wall. If they're exposed on both ends, generally what I do, and this one will be short, I run it all the way up here and butt this in and pull it back here. I don't know if you can see that. But I would pull it back here so it would leave less touching the wall so it's easier to describe to the wall. Obviously, the less it's touching the wall, the easier to describe. This countertop is different. So this one is actually going to get edge banded on the back, which is unusual. This is a four-sided banded countertop. So this is going to go down like this, just like that, and it'll get glued up. And these blocks go in between. So let me show you. Let me get out the staple gun, and we will get going and show you how quick we can put this together. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to squirt a little glue on these things here. You don't have to do this step. You can just leave them like this. I roll them out. I don't know. I just always have done it. Gives you more glue coverage. I mean, really, these aren't going anywhere either way. They're stapled down and everything else. So I like to glue all my pieces first. And glue this one here. Just quicker to, do all your operations first. I'm going to run my glue. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect. Hit it with a roller. Spreads it right out. And this is just an ordinary paint roller. I know people use all sorts of different things that they pay a lot of money for, but this is just a regular 3/8 snap paint roller I use for this. So now, we got that done. This doesn't have to be lined up perfectly because we're going to trim it afterwards, but on the table saw. So what I do is I staple in the back here, kind of line it up. I know this is probably loud. I'm going to fire the staples in here. And then I don't want to get it too close to the edge yet because I'm going to be knocking the corner off, as you'll see. So now, we always put these ones in first. Now these are going to line up with the end. These I'm just going to staple inside. And then I do the back side. here, and this one's getting flushed up. Okay. Now it doesn't matter. These ones don't really matter. I just center it by eye. You want to take the time to do it the other way and measure them all out. That's fine. It doesn't really matter. These are just cross braces so it won't bow down. They don't have to be exact. And now we're just going to put this piece on in the back. Line up. Now this piece was actually cut off of the overall size, so it's all the same size. This gun is being weird. Pull it all together. Throw a couple more staples in it. And that's all it's done. So now our countertop is actually built. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go over the table saw and we're going to cut it to final dimension. So now this countertop actually calls for a detail. Normally we leave them square like this. And then we just laminate over them. But this one actually is going in a laundromat. And so what we're going to do is we're going to round off the edges. So I have a template here. You can buy these commercially. I just made this. It's not worth the money. It takes 10 minutes to make a template. So we draw a round over off of both edges. Flip our template over. And now we'll just come in and we'll knock it off close to the line with a jigsaw. Simple and easy. Like that. It's close. It doesn't matter. Grab a clamp or two right here. Clamp it down here. We could also clamp it to the bench, but we're not going to on this one. Try to get this lined up. It's not lining up perfectly for some reason. Mostly line this up. Generally the tabs, there we go. Oh, it's going there. That's fine. Get it on, lined up. Now we'll take our router, which is over here. All right. And the router's got a top, not set, but it's got a top bearing bit. Okay. Now we'll take our router, we'll just flush trim this to that edge. Simple, simple. Okay, so this is our laminate. It's this plastic laminate. This is a post-form thickness. It's what I generally use. I don't generally use standard thickness. It just leaves too thick of a line and doesn't really give you any advantage. It's very thin and fragile in this point. But now the next step is going to be to cut it up to smaller pieces so I can start sticking it to our substrate that we've already made. All right. Now we're going to apply the glue. We're going to use contact cement, but I don't use normal contact cement like, well, it is normal contact cement, I guess. But I use a spray contact cement. And the reason I use spray cement is because it dries a lot quicker, goes on a lot quicker, and it's just a lot better. Honestly, the stuff you can buy at Home Depot or whatnot in the box stores, I think it's not their fault. I think that the government has made them take out a lot of the stuff that made it work, because I ended up grabbing a quart one time to do a quick job on a weekend, and I couldn't get that stuff to stick. It was terrible. So this stuff still works great, and let me show you how we do it. So you want to apply an even coat. Hopefully you can see what I'm doing here. Spray it on like this. And try to keep it okay. So you try to keep it so it's you can see I got cardboard everywhere because this stuff goes everywhere and sticks to everything. So now I got the surface done. So now I'm going to spray a coat here on the edges. And you cover up, if you can see I got a board there to cover it up. You get a nice coat on here, spray it on. Lay it on like this. And now we'll come over here. I should have had a shorter board, but you try to keep it off of the surface. It just makes it easier and cleaner. Should have a shorter board here. This will work though. You gotta get over. I get a real good coat on that corner, because when we stick that, it's gonna be important to get a good bond there. So let that go. Come back over here. Now we'll just give it a few minutes to dry. It generally takes about 5 minutes to dry. It dries a lot quicker than the roll-on stuff. And then you don't have to double coat with this stuff. I don't double. All right, now hopefully we can do this and you can see what I'm doing here. So now the glue is dry and I gotta set this edge. Now I'm gonna have to seam this edge, and these seams never come out perfect. I couldn't get 12-foot long sheets for this job. There's not in stock right now. So this is pretty simple. So I put a pencil line here kind of in the center, pretty much in the center. So you lay the one side down flat like this. Just like that. And you just make sure you're up and it's covering it. You want this thing to be wider than your surface, just like that. Okay. Now we got it down here. We're going to roll it out here like this. Just like that. Very good. Now you can see the rounded corner. So now we got to get it to go around this corner. But if we just do it the way it is, it'll crack the laminate. It won't be no good. It'll crack it. So what we're going to do here is we're going to heat it up with a heat gun. Doesn't take a lot of heat, but we're going to slowly heat it up. And it'll work its way around. And it's kind of pushing off here, which is normal. Almost there. Keep heating it. Give it the heat. Just like that. And that should do it. Roll it out. Roll it up. It's not quite there yet. Not quite there yet here. Now roll it down. There we go. Now it's getting there. Gotta get it hot, hot enough so it sticks. And actually the heat will soften the glue a little bit, but once it cools off, it sticks again. Nice and warm. Should do it. There we go. There we go. Once we're down here, it doesn't matter. Get nicely rounded over. Very good. Alrighty, as you can see, we've got the edge done. This is top is upside down. Got our edge done here. Corners rounded. We've heated up the laminate to get it around the corner for us so it doesn't crack. And now the next step, we're going to trim this. We are ready to trim, and what we're going to use, hopefully you can see it here, is just a regular trim router. This is a small router. These are what you want to use. They work better. You can use a big router too, but trim router, and that's what these are meant for. And we're going to run this edge and take it right off. And that's all it takes. So now we flush trim the edge, and now the next step is going to be to flatten that down with a belt sander. We'll do that next. All right, so the next step we're going to do is this trims are pretty close, but I like to belt sand it right to the thing. And you can hit it with a file too, but I use a belt sander because it's quicker. So I'll just belt sand all this flush here and clean this up so we can get ready to put the top piece on. Important that I forgot to mention is you always want to have the belt pulling back so it pushes it into here. If it's pulling this way, it can sometimes pull the laminate off the edge. Doesn't always happen, but it can happen. So you don't want that because then you got to redo it.
Okay, so we had a little audio issue here. Apparently my microphone didn't connect and I didn't know that. So basically what I'm doing here is we've got to spray the top sheet here. I got to dust it off. Make sure you don't want any dirt or anything on it, because if there's dirt, it'll show up through you have a lump in the laminate. You don't want that. So anyhow, so now it's pretty simple. You're just going to spray it on in a pattern here. You want to get a nice even coat. Try not to get puddles. It won't make a difference if you do. It just takes forever for it to dry. But as you can see, I'm just moving along here, and we're making lines. You can see it. And generally, I don't know if I do it on this one, but generally I will come back and go perpendicular to the first pattern just to get, yeah, here I go here. Just perpendicular, make sure I get good coverage. It doesn't have to be super heavy. You don't want it super heavy, you want it to dry pretty quick. So once you get, I always spray the piece of laminate first and then set it off to the side so I can use the substrate as, a piece just to support it. Just makes it easier. So now here I am just spraying the substrate and getting it ready so it can get laminated here. Again, what's important on these a lot of times, you want to definitely double coat your edges just to make sure you've got good coverage on the edge. If you miss a little bit in the center, it's not really going to matter, but edges are very important, because if there's not a good bond on the edge, the laminate can eventually lift over time. Maybe not even over time, sometimes right away. have it. We got this panel all glued up and ready to go. And we'll be sticking it in a second. Okay, so I moved the substrate to the bench just because it's taller and easier. So now I've got to stick the laminate, and I was probably describing that in this video here. Not sure what I'm pointing at here. Oh, I'm talking about sticks. So I don't generally use sticks, and you can. A lot of people do. You can put sticks across there. You set your laminate on the sticks. You pull the sticks out. I've got enough experience doing it. I don't like using the sticks, one, because oftentimes you end up getting dirt on the stick or something, and then you get a lump in the laminate. On big pieces, I'll use sticks, but generally I do it like this here. I line up the edge, and the thing is, once you touch the two surfaces together, this is why it's called contact cement. When the two surfaces contact each other, you get a really strong bond, and you can get it off. You can wipe it down with lacquer thinner and spray it down with lacquer thinner, and it will come off. And sometimes you can use a heat gun and get it off too. But it's just, you try to avoid doing that. Now I'm fighting this here. It's not lining up quite right. But we'll get it, and get it. You just kind of tack the edge. If you can see, I kind of tack the edge, and then just kind of sort of do it that way. And then now I just hand press it down, and I will... after that's all done, I'll roll it out with a roller, because you want to get all the air bubbles out and get a good bond between the two surfaces. That's what's most important. And see, on this one I'm going to use my steel roller. I have a rubber roller. I have a couple rollers. I'm just using a steel roller, and it's going to roll out the air bubbles. There really shouldn't be any, but this just pushes it in. And presses it into the surface and gives it a good strong bond. Alright, now that we got it down, we've got to trim it. Now this is just a straight flush trim bit on the router right now. And you run around the whole thing, get it flush trimmed, and get it all straightened out. Now after you do that, we're going to take some lacquer thinner here and clean off the glue. I use a red glue generally because it's easier to see. It shows up a lot easier. When you use a natural glue, it's kind of like clear. Actually, it's more closer to this laminate here. This is the maple laminate, and you can't see it. Now after I do that, I'm going to run the, this is what's called a file-free bit in this router. I run two routers, so I don't have to change the setup on it and keep it all that way. File-free just keeps it from not having to file it. It just makes it a lot quicker because it put a little round over on the edge.
I hope you enjoyed today's video. I hope it was informative and you're able to learn how I do countertops. I know that it's not the way that everybody's going to do it. Obviously, not everybody's going to spray contact the tops. They'll probably roll it on, but the procedure is exactly the same if you're using roll on or not. The spray contact just goes faster. Does make a bigger mess, but it does go faster. So I appreciate you watching, and would you please like, subscribe, and comment, and let me know how I'm doing and what I can do in the next video. Thank you.